3D printing is great for the hobby. That's been our point of view on the channel. And if you are on the fence about buying a 3D printer or starting 3D printing, here are my top 5 reasons why you should just start. Welcome to Corner Case. You're in the hobby corner. I'm your host, your best friend, your melted plastic, Deck, and today we're talking top 5 reasons to 3D print for wargaming. Reason number 5 is practice. We've talked about this on the channel before. Basically, how do you get better at miniature painting except by painting more models? And if every time you paint is a model that you have to buy that is going into your army, I think those are blockers to your creativity because you have your monetary investment, you're kind of scared to mess up. It has to go into your army, so depending on how you're feeling about your army, you may not feel that good. And then if you're painting something like a Space Marine army, like Ultramarines, then you're only painting blue forever. How else do you practice getting better at painting? Well, perfect practice makes perfect. If you do 3D printing, then you can 3D print a ton of practice minis for pretty cheap without having to break the bank just to practice. And I think that over time will actually make you feel a lot better about your painting. Reason number 4, exposure. How can you get exposed to more different kinds of painting? I mentioned before that you could be painting the same Space Marine army forever. Well, what if you thought that Chaos looked pretty cool, but if you're only painting Primaris Marines, that's like a really clean painting style that you have to learn. So how do you feel comfortable painting something like a Chaos Demon or a Chaos Engine that is just super, super detailed and ornate? Are you gonna feel comfortable taking the leap on your first try on like a Mauler Fiend or like an Obliterator? How are you gonna get comfortable with that? Well, if you 3D print something that's similar, you can kind of get a try for it. One thing that I think also that could happen is people I think have like a buyer's remorse sometimes. They might buy an army and then realize that they really don't like painting that army. Certain armies require a little bit more dexterity when you paint, certain armies require more colors, certain armies are broad brushstrokes only, and depending on your painting style and your comfort level, you may or may not like an army just from how it feels when you paint it. So getting exposure to different kinds of models before you just decide to invest in an army, I think can actually save you down the road from buyer's remorse. Reason number 3 for 3D printing for your wargaming hobby is printing terrain. I think this sounds pretty obvious, but hear me out. Basically, in the pandemic times, how often do you really get to go to the game store now? Are all of your friends playing? There's a new variant like out all the time. I don't feel comfortable going to the game store, even though my local game store is up and some people in my group are playing there. So, at times I have invited people over to my house, and being able to 3D print terrain has been really, really helpful because now I have like 2 full sets of terrain. Like I can fill up 2 tables, and that means that 4 people can play at my house safely. We can play in my backyard. And that's actually, to me, the new significance of printing terrain. It's not just that it's a model that is typically a little bit overpriced. It's actually also that it enables you to do this activity a different way. It's safer now. And I think that needs to be talked about more. So 3D printing actually keeps you safe. Reason number 2 for 3D printing for your wargaming hobby. Obviously, bits and personalization. I've talked about this on the channel before as well, that I don't always 3D print bits for my 40K armies because basically it doesn't always look good, but in some cases it does look very, very good. And in some cases you need to do that 3D printing to get what you need. So I'm going to give an example here is my Lamenter's army. So in my Lamenter's army, I invested in the Forge World heads for these Blood Angels because I thought that this was like the best Blood Angel head for what I was going for. But there's not really like a Lamenter shoulder pad. And I think it's like a traditional torture to just paint those checkerboard patterns. But because I was able to get these 3D printed shoulder pads, well then now actually the grid is built into the pad. All I have to do is paint within the lines as per normal. That's an example where, I really think the 3D printing shines in this case for a bit, is those really ornate details that are still, again, within design language. We believe in that on this channel, within design language. Yeah, bits and personalization. Don't go crazy. Do not go crazy. But in some cases, works really, really well. And we all know that conversions, although they are fun and can be efficient, I feel like it's easy to get carried away with conversions because they get really, really expensive. Here's an example, again, from my Blood Angels army. I was trying to do this crazy thing with my Sanguinary Guard. So I got all these bits. I think these are like Emperor's Children, Forge World torsos, and then these Ultramarine head. And I thought basically I was thinking Sanguinary Guard, maximum wings possible on this unit. And I put it all together and oh man, I didn't feel good about it. And I had already got all these bits. So a little bit of buyer's remorse there. And I'm probably gonna have to finish this unit at some point. But oh man, you see, this is one where like 3D printing would have been really useful, but this was like a little bit pre-3D printing was popular. So I've been sitting on it that long. But yeah, 3D print your bits, guys. But only the good ones. And the last reason to 3D print for your wargaming hobby is that bases are way faster and better 3D printing. Like, oh my goodness. Everybody's got these like cork bases, and it's to the point where like I can't even look at a base without just seeing a stack of cork, and it's not cool, guys. And the cracked earth bases, they're not that cool either. The only bases that I think are actually cool are like the ones that you don't really notice them so much. Maybe they're rocky, maybe they have a little bit of foliage on there, like that's it. But a lot of these super, super loud bases, it's tough. You know, you need a lot of bits to actually make a base look decent. You sprinkle those little twigs and stuff, but 3D printing, like, oh my goodness, there is a base for any environment you want to be on. If you just go on my mini factory, you know, any 40K size, and then, you know, any size for most other games. And that's been really, really good. So I've been working on that quite a bit. You know, there's also translucent effects because you can print the bases in clear. A spoiler alert, but I am working on some ice bases right now that I can 3D print. Yeah, printing bases. Better, also cheaper, also faster. So that has been my top 5 reasons why I think 3D printing is really, really useful for your hobby. I hope you see the common theme here, not the traditional things that people talk about. It's not about printing minis because they're too expensive so that you can use them on the tabletop. It's about printing minis so that you can get better at your hobby faster and cheaper, and do your hobby in a safer way more often, and do your hobby in a better way faster, you know? So that's really what this technology is affording us. I think all the conversations about the copyright infringement, that's totally separate. It shouldn't be the reason you do not get into 3D printing, because that has nothing to do with you getting better at your hobby. By closing your mind to this stuff, you're just not getting any better, and you're not getting any smarter. And frankly, you're wasting a lot of money that you don't need to be. So 3D printing is a really practical tool for all that stuff. I hope that, you know, this list was pretty succinct and you guys got a little something from it, a little something. So top 5 reasons for 3D printing. Thank you so much for stopping by. As always, please like and subscribe. We're desperate. Otherwise, see you next time.
Please like and subscribe. We've been through enough.